All right, welcome to Bet99's The Parleh Show. Rob Conway in studio in Toronto. Justin Pooney joining me as always.
Absolutely.
And joining us in a minute will be Matthew Barnaby. But we have a pretty big guest coming up today.
Massive guest.
Yeah, Georges St. Pierre.
I was going to say, do we want to not let the cat out of the bag already? But you kind of did.
No, we want people to stick around to watch. Or otherwise, just selling me and you.
Cliffhanger.
Oh, look, there he is, Matthew Barnaby. How you doing, my man?
I'm good. I guess the cat is out of the bag. Good job. And we have Matthew Barnaby. Yay.
Yeah. Well, you're here all the time. We love you, Matt.
Yeah, he's family.
I know.
Yeah, he's literal family. We're gonna be going to the keg tomorrow night.
Oh, really?
I think.
Yes, we are.
Well, we're booked
leaving here at 10 a.m. We'll be up in Toronto around 2 and look forward. I'm going to be with you a lot.
I know.
Big weekend.
Big weekend. Well, week.
Big week.
Yeah,
big week.
'Cause all the way going up to a VIP Bet99 golf tournament
yes.
next week. And Barney's also participating in another charity golf tournament for
Nice.
one Bernie Nichols. So, he's got
Yes.
a bunch of stuff to do, which is great. And we'll be having a lot of fun. And maybe, just maybe, Barney will be in studio on Monday.
Ooh, can't wait.
I mean, he should come because I'm going to leave my house and he's staying at my house to come to the studio.
Oh,
So
so
more
it's
than
kinda one
likely,
of those
he's going to
things.
have to get in the car with me.
I'm not going to say anything. The wife's not going to work.
That's nice, Barney. Thank you very much. Appreciate
Well, I
it.
want to help her with Kaya.
Oh, right.
I'm a
Thank
good
you.
guy.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Bad news, though. My air conditioner broke this morning, so we're trying to get a new one.
Surprise.
Hopefully in before Monday when you arrive. If not,
Let me know. I can
if
stay
not,
at the
I'll
hotel
just
a few extra days.
yeah. If not, I'll just get a big palm leaf and stand beside your bed and all night going like that. All right.
I'd rather be warm.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Well, the Jays.
Lost.
Yeah, lost again, 9-4. Look, Kevin Gausman, great season, didn't have a great start. Santiago Espinal kind of let him down there. Game got away from him, Barney. But these Jays are just a game up against Seattle. We've been kind of just motoring along, expecting a playoff spot. But with the amount of games against the AL East coming up, Barney, they do have a bit of a soft part in the schedule against teams like the Nationals, the A's, and the Royals. It's going to get tough down the stretch for these Jays. How confident are you right now this team's going to be playing some postseason baseball?
I'm not confident. I'm just hopeful, and that's not a good place to be when you get into game one in the 120s.
Yeah.
To be there. So usually you like to know what team you're going to get, and I think we've reiterated this ad nauseum. They're just inconsistent. You know, they win 2-1. You come back, you lose 9-4 with your best pitcher. That's tough. But yeah, it's a little easy spot, but down the stretch is going to be tough when you don't know what you're going to get every single night. That's the hard thing.
Yeah, I mean, Kevin Gausman's supposed to be the anchor of your pitching staff, and he had 5 and 1/3 inning pitch, 7 hits, 5 earned runs, 4 strikeouts, 3 walks, gave up 2 solo jacks to Bryce Harper. This is difficult because the Seattle Mariners, won again last night, and now are only 1 game behind, and they're playing much better baseball right now than the Toronto Blue Jays since the post All-Star break. If I'm a Jays fan, I think the good times are going to be coming to an end. You got to start worrying because we're almost in September, and I think the Mariners still have a game or 2 in hand on Toronto, so it's going to be very dicey going forward. And the pitching staff that was so has been kind of faltering, especially some of the bigger names like Gausman and Bassett of late.
It's true, but the Mariners, the one thing that they've struggled with is closing out games. Now, look, they're playing the Royals. They blew after a nice comeback. They blew game 2 games ago, and in the last 2 games they blew leads, won both of them. Luckily, they traded away Paul Sewald. They've given the ball to the likes of Matt Brash and Munoz as well, and those guys just haven't been able to come through. So it's. Look, I think it's just down to the Jays, Astros, and Mariners. I think we can kind of park everybody else. We're going to get into the Yankees a bit in the next segment about how terrible they've been. But Boston and the Angels, etc., they're going to have to put some sort of miracle together here in the last 40 games, Barney, in order to try and get their way back into it.
Yeah, they are, and I'm agreeing with those 2 teams or those 3 teams vying for the last spot in there. Again, we're Jays fans. We're Canadians. We hope that they will be there. You're going to have to ring off 5 or 6 in a row to really separate yourself. And one of these teams will do it. Who does it? That's why they play the games, man. Just when you look at, the Bichette injury, he'll be coming back. Vladdy not having his greatest year, even, what we'd expect from him, and not having Manoah, that was their ace last year. this is kind of where you'd expect that they'd be, and maybe even a little ahead of schedule with those guys not performing. So certainly, 40 games to go roughly, and hopefully they can put together a stretch here.
Yeah, we'll see. It'll be interesting. They have another day off today, late night in the MLB schedule.
I just wanted to say
it's gonna be tough for the parlay.
Even though I'm proudly Canadian, I don't want the Jays to make the playoffs. I want the Mariners to make the playoffs.
I know, because you're from Vancouver, and you think that because you're from Vancouver, you have to cheer for Seattle teams.
No, I don't have to. I just choose to.
Yeah. How about those BC Lions?
They're the best team in the West.
I know, but you're a Seahawks fan, and you don't even care.
It's two different leagues, Seahawks, CFL, and NFL.
Well, there's no Seattle team in the CFL, so I had to, make the correlation between sports. Speaking of football, Barney, big game tonight, Browns and Eagles. What are your thoughts? I'm only kidding. Under 37.5.
Under 37.5.
We're getting there, though. I think it's like 20-something days before the NFL.
Yeah, it's
Justin.
September the 1st, 7th.
It'll be September 7th. Really looking forward to that. It's gonna be wild once we get into that. And college football will already be underway. It's like a week and a half away too. Yeah. It's the best time of year because you have baseball for so very long. We're gonna go to a break here, but we have baseball for so very long. And look, I like the Jays. I like cheering for the Jays. Great thing about baseball, they usually play every day. They don't play today, but they usually play every single day. But with football, Justin, coming up, it's ready to gamble.
We all
it's ready
know
to gamble
that
time.
Football's king in North America.
Yeah.
With respects to hockey, basketball, everything.
Yeah.
When the NFL's on, you're fully invested, and you're fully invested until the Super Bowl.
Absolutely. Right? All right, we're going to take a quick break here, but we're going to talk a little bit about the Yankees when we come back and what the heck's going on in the Bronx as this team is in a place it hasn't been in for decades, I should say. Coming up next year on the Bet99's The Parleh Show. All right, welcome back to Bet99's The Parleh Show. Rob Conway in studio with Justin Pooney and Mr. Matthew Barnaby in Ottawa. We got a lot coming up on the show. Still to come, Georges St. Pierre, Sarah Pararia. We're going to talk, obviously, UFC 292 with George. We're going to talk a little soccer with Sarah. But right now, we're going to talk about two things. I want to talk about the Yankees, but I also want to get Barney. We talked a lot about it yesterday, but I want to get your thoughts on the BMW Championship and a little Ryder Cup talk. But we'll start with the Yankees here, Barney, because... look, this team has been, franchise-wise, been fantastic since basically the Derek Jeter
it's the gold standard
era.
of,
Yeah, for sure. And for the first time since 1995, this late in the season, they are under 500, which is, a shock, but not really. Look, it happens to every team. They go through these sorts of things, Barney. But what? If you were to look at it from your perspective in the NHL when you were playing, what would you equate the Yankees organization with? Like, what organization was it? Was it the Red Wings of your era, like the Devils of your era? What would you equate them as? What was this gold standard for you?
Well, I mean, for me, it's the Red Wings. They were almost unbeatable. I think in my 15 years, now they were in the Western Conference, but I don't care where they played. It didn't matter. You weren't beating the Red Wings, especially in Detroit with the likes of Yzerman and Shanahan, Brett Hull, Lidstrom. I mean, it was just an embarrassment of riches. So that from that side, the excellent part, you're looking at the Red Wings. From this year's standpoint, it's my 3 years with the New York Rangers, because when your payroll is up there so much higher than everyone else, or with the likes of the Mets, and I'll include them in this, but this is the Yankees and the expectation. Listen, we had a $92 million payroll when I played in New York from 2001 to 2004. I mean, guys, that's 20 years ago. The payroll now is like $82 million. It was $92 million back then. I think Carolina's was probably $17 million, and we couldn't make the playoffs. And that was embarrassing for us, and it should be embarrassing for the New York Yankees and their fans. The expectations, when you spend that kind of money, expectations is championship and not just making the playoffs. And when you fall short of making the playoffs, which they are going to, it's really embarrassing, because that's why they spend the money. That's why they spend the money, is expectations of winning a championship. To be subpar, to be sub 500, it's absolutely embarrassing.
I think, you look at it, when you look at great teams, great dynasties in sports, right? You think about the Lakers and Showtime, Dr. Jerry Buss, one of the best owners in sports, right? You talk about, again, Jerry Reinsdorf wasn't the best one, but look, he put the bill out, and they built a dynasty in Chicago with the Bulls. Robert Kraft with the Patriots. Say what you will about Jerry Jones now, but Jerry Jones built a dynasty in Dallas in the early 90s, right? George Steinbrenner built that, or rebuilt the Yankees to a dynasty at the end of the 90s and early 2000s, right? And since his passing, and since his kids have taken over, the Yankees haven't been the New York Yankees, right?
Yeah.
The Yankees have been in the playoffs. They've come close, right, a few times, but they haven't been what everybody knows them as the New York Yankees, the evil empire, the Bronx Bombers, right?
Yeah.
They've been a shell of that. Now they're second in baseball in payroll, but I think it's the mentality of the players they have. Giancarlo Stanton, uberly talented, but not the same mentality as a Jorge Posada, a Derek Jeter, an Andy Pettitte, right? Those guys, right? And I think the Yankees need to go back to finding that George Steinbrenner, that Yankee identity, if they really want to get back to being the New York Yankees, the 27-time world champions, right? You can spend all the money in the world, but if the mentality and the leadership is not there from top to bottom, you're not going to do anything. And you're seeing that with the Mets, you're seeing that with the Yankees, you're seeing that with the Padres, the three biggest teams, three biggest payrolls in baseball, not doing anything this year, right? Because it starts from the top to the bottom, and sometimes money, is not well spent.
Yeah, right, Barney?
Well, James Dolan, I'm not putting him in elite ownership category. I promise you that. That is 1,000% not true. Nice guy, but no, he's not in that category. He once wanted us to beat a dog, a stuffed animal, in our dressing room before a game, wearing the jersey that the other team had, and I was like, not a chance.
That's straight out of the biggest cliche book.
Yeah.
After 10 years, am I going to beat a dog? And when I told Mark Messier that, he's like, he's our owner. I go, Mark, I'm not beating a stuffed dog in the NHL. I've dreamed about playing with you and playing in the National Hockey League, but I'm not beating a stuffed dog. I don't think the Yankees are doing that, but certainly maybe that's the thing that's going to turn them around, because it's been a struggle.
Yeah, and like you were mentioning there, Justin, it's a top to bottom type of thing, and we got some sound here that we wanted to play, and Barney, you'll be hearing this for the first time, so let's take a listen.
Ben Ruda is in the chat right now, who played in the Yankees minor league system recently, and he threw a few comments out there. I fully expect them to clear house in the minor leagues. All the coaches were brought in by Dylan Lawson and the analytics guys. Lawson's the hitting coach who was let go. They will change developmental culture back to old Yankees days. Keep in mind, I played in the Yanks org before analytics, 2016 to 18, and then after 18 to 20. Stark difference in developments. I asked for an example. He said, here's all you need to know. In 2020, before COVID hit spring training, we played a game called pitchers versus hitters. The only way to score a point was to walk or hit a ball 95 miles an hour plus, and there's no baseball being taught there anymore. No base running, moving runners, fundamentals, etc.
Interesting. So basically saying that the minor league system for the Yankees right now, or not right now, when he was there, was kind of just odd. Have you seen something like that, Barney, before, where like you were mentioning beating up a stuffed animal with a jersey on it, but is it like just trying to do different things, like just grasping at straws almost, just to like, what is that?
Yeah, I can only speak from the NHL level from this point, because I didn't play in the minors all that long, and I was very young, just trying to make my way. And we had great preparation when we came up to the Buffalo Sabres from our coaching staff, John Van Boxmeer in Rochester. But again, it's the New York Rangers. It's signing guys that are at the best or going to make the most money, and they just throw the money at them. And there was no teaching in the NHL. Like, it literally was just sticking a Band-Aid on everywhere we went. And I have a great quote from Bobby Holik, who is one of my favorite teammates I've ever played with, and one of the most honest people in the world. And in Bobby's accent, because he is Czechoslovakian, phenomenal. But he literally sat on the bench with me when we were doing like power play, penalty kill. And he looked at me, he's like, Barney, did they not watch me for the last 10 years? If Bobby Holik is, number 3 centerman, number 2 power play guy, and your first PK, we have good chance win Stanley Cup. If Bobby Holik, number 1 center, number 1 power play, number one penalty kill, we don't make the playoffs. Book your vacation to Aruba because we're not making the playoffs.
Yeah, he's being honest. It's an honest.
He was right.
Analysis of what his team was. Interesting. It's interesting what's going on with the Yankees. We'll see how it all plays out next year. I'm sure they'll be fine. I'm sure they'll figure something out. Grab a couple pieces. Maybe one Shohei Ohtani.
That's what I was going to say. They're probably going to spend
They're gonna
a
wanna
whole
look
lot
to
of
that.
money on Shohei Ohtani.
Real quick, Barney, we talked about it a lot yesterday. Lucas Glover, Justin Thomas. You got 60 seconds to convince me.
Lucas Glover, baby, hottest player in the world. Hottest player in the world. I reiterated. I can't remember if I did put it on Twitter. I did my best Lucas Glover yesterday. I didn't realize it was 25 degrees outside and sunny. I don't know why I didn't look outside. And I wore pants to go hit balls. Well, I had the swamp ass. Man.
No.
I had it. I was dripping everywhere. It was skanky. So I'm a Lucas Glover fan. Hey, wins 2 in a row. Give me him over the struggling Justin Thomas.
Yeah, the swamp ass is the worst.
Wear black pants.
I know, but it's also uncomfortable.
That's
but
true.
Yeah, but it looks terrible.
Black's tough when it's 25 too, but
that is true.
Let them wear shorts. I don't know why they don't wear shorts. It's craziness why they don't wear shorts when it's mid-August in Memphis. It's probably okay to wear shorts. I don't see what the big deal is about it, but nonetheless, we'll move on. Lucas Glover, another one for him. Barney's got him. All right, Barney, thanks very much for joining us today, and I will see you tomorrow at the Keg.
In Toronto. Yes, sir.
How do you like your steak? Medium rare?
Of course. That's the only way to eat it.
Perfect. I agree.
Don't order ketchup.
All right.
Don't order ketchup.
We'll get that and a little bit of Billy Miner pie over at the Keg as well. All right, coming up next, we have Sarah Parreh in studio as we're going to be talking a little bit of soccer. All right, welcome back to Bet99's The Parleh Show. Rob Conway in studio with Justin Pooney, and joining us now, Sarah Parreh, and we're going to talk a little soccer, a little footy. We got lots to talk about, but we decided we're going to start with UEFA releasing the Men's Player of the Year nominees, De Bruyne, Haaland, and one Lionel Messi. Mm-hmm. Do I need to ask you who I think you think should win?
No.
No, but seriously, it's obviously a great list. Yeah. Haaland's had a fantastic season with Man City. Messi obviously winning the World Cup. I don't know how much the Inter Miami experiment would come into this, but he's certainly doing quite well there.
So that's technically the new season, so it wouldn't come into play.
All right.
Yeah.
You think he'd be nominated next year if he dominates MLS? Probably not, right? So this is his last chance.
No, because then what if he wins the Copa America next year with Argentina?
Okay.
Like that's crazy, right? Like the fact that he was nominated in 2007. Mm-hmm. Actually, I think he won. Mm-hmm. And now it's 2023, and he's probably going to win it again. But even if he's still just nominated, like this era is just, you got to love it.
It's hard to bet against, De Bruyne or Haaland. They won the UEFA Champions League, right? They won the Premier League.
They didn't win the World Cup. That's the biggest takeaway. I'm actually happy, though, KDB is there because I honestly think he was Man City's most important player. Absolutely. I know that's everyone thinks it's Haaland. Yeah, he banged in the goals for sure, but KDB, I think, was much more important to Man City than Haaland in the sense of what he brought, playmaking, setting up Erling Haaland, and just that kind of, strength in the middle there, which now they're without for 4 months.
I don't know. I just think that, look, Messi, what he's done is unbelievable. And, again, I don't know. I think they're, because of the UEFA Men's Player of the Year. Right? It's not the Ballon d'Or, right?
Yeah, but that just means the best player in Europe. That doesn't mean who won the Champions League. Messi was playing in Europe last year with PSG.
I know. So the way, again, this could be the North American sports brain of mine.
Okay.
Right? I'm thinking about it literally, right? So when I think of the Ballon d'Or, I think of all things encompassing, right? The FIFA Player of the Year. When I think of UEFA, I think of club or European competitions in Europe, right? And so that's why I would put De Bruyne ahead.
No, that's
but
that's just not what it means.
So
I'm just saying you just don't know what it means.
You're saying that his Argentinian triumph does not qualify in the decision making for this trophy.
He just doesn't understand that it just has to be a player that plays in Europe.
Exactly.
Right.
So
it doesn't need to be a European player.
Exactly. That's what
no, not European player, but like only their European qualifying.
That's what I'm saying. Only their what they've done in Europe qualifies for.
But that's not what
this award is. So then, if it's all encompassing, then it should be Messi because he won the World Cup.
So as long as you basically play for a club team in Europe, you qualify, and anything else though, if you win the Copa America, that's still great and counts towards you being the best player.
That counts towards things like the. Well, no, that'll count towards as long as you're playing in Europe. That will count towards it. So
that's what I mean. That's what I mean. Yeah. So him winning the World Cup still counts.
Yeah.
Even though that wasn't, I guess, a UEFA competition.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Messi.
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go.
We figured it out.
We figured it out. Speaking of Man City, big matchup coming up. Prem League is back. Big weekend actually. You're getting Manchester City at minus 148 inside the 90. Well, obviously it doesn't matter inside the 90 because there's only 90 minutes but in these games. But it is a 1x2 market. Newcastle plus 400. I find that surprising that Man City's only minus 148. Do you not?
I'm surprised that Newcastle is plus
400.
400. Yeah, this is a way closer match.
Really?
In fact, James Sharman has
dismantled.
This as a draw. Yeah, they dismantled Aston Villa last weekend. We know how good Aston Villa is fighting for a top 6 spot.
I picked Aston Villa to finish top 4 last week. I went on a limb. I thought
that's insane. Wow.
We talked about it
top
last.
6, maybe not top 4.
I said they could threaten, right?
This is the best team in Europe.
Newcastle finished 3rd last season. So why is that? You're for the 1st and the 3rd of last season. This is going to be a great game. This has draw written all over it to me. Man City just won the UEFA Super Cup against Sevilla last night, but it went into penalties. Sevilla actually get on the board first. Great header from City, and then Cole Palmer out of everyone scores, ties the game. But City were down, they draw, and they only won because of penalties at the end of the day. So yeah, they won a trophy. I get it, another one into the cabinet. But yeah, they started everyone, and they just. A lot of people, I think, disregarded Sevilla here. But yeah, it's interesting because now they're going to play a Newcastle team in the Premier League, which is going to be, I think, a lot more intense, a lot more aggressive. So this one's tough.
I wanted to also say, 2 of the last 3 matches, we've seen City play the Community Shield and, of course, Super Cup, and then their opening match against Burnley. It could just be, rust from the offseason. A lot of guys didn't play in the preseason. They're still trying to find their way. But
no KDB.
No KDB, but they just I haven't seen them in their best form in the last couple
They're still missing a player there, right? Because KDB got injured, so he's gone now. No Ilkay Gundogan, he left. Riyad Mahrez. That's why they're going after Lucas Paquetá now. So, I think they're still trying to sort out their best potential lineup. But, they're still absolutely super.
Exactly. Even what you mentioned, they're missing these certain players. They're still
But that's
loaded.
how reliant they are. Especially KDB. It's like, okay, don't get too worried yet. But, wow, how good of a player this guy is that, already they're a little. So, this game against Newcastle is going to be. Pressure is on for Mr. Guardiola is how I'm looking at it.
Top of the table, Newcastle.
Hey, you know what?
I'm not trying to take anything away from Newcastle. Just this Man City is at home, right? And it's the best team in Europe. I'm just surprised that they're not minus 250 or something like that. But you guys can convince me.
Okay.
So draw no bet? How about that?
No, I would take City to win, but I would expect it to be a close match. Right?
What's the draw in this game?
Plus 320?
Sprinkle.
Plus
320, yeah.
Sprinkle. I'd sprinkle.
You can take draw and Newcastle to win.
I could.
That wouldn't be a bad little line.
That's on what, Saturday, that match?
Yeah, 12:30.
Yeah,
3 o'clock on Saturday.
I'll think about it over the night tonight.
The 12:30 match though is
no. We
the
want you
other
to
one.
lock it in right now
No,
here
I'm
live
not
on
gonna lock it
television.
in
No,
right now.
you're not going to do it. No problem.
You're not
Chelsea at West Ham minus 105 for Chelsea, plus 280 for West Ham, and a draw at plus 260. There's that game, and then United against Tottenham. But let's start with the Chelsea game. Slight favorite. What do you think of this one? They're on the road, though.
I'm just excited to see Chelsea finally get into it with their team. They just signed Michael Olise. That's huge for them. But, I want to see. They drew Liverpool. I want to see, what this team can actually be because this team looks insane. When you look at the players, you're like, this has to be a great team. Reece James, though, once again, picks up a hamstring injury.
They fear he could be out for months.
You name this guy captain, and again, I think he's solid, and he's been with Chelsea since he was a kid, so I understand that sort of legacy, that loyalty, but the Reece James, man, I feel like it's wasting away for him, and that's really terrible because he's a great player. But I'm excited to see this game because I think we can actually see Chelsea smash West Ham. West Ham obviously not doing so great last season. This season, I kind of expect the same from them, especially if Paquetá goes. Oh my God! But I want to see Chelsea be the Chelsea that we're all expecting them to be.
And I think, look, we saw how poor it was last year. So they're bound to be better. They played so bad last year. It was such a I can't say the word I'm thinking, but you know what show. And I think anything short of disaster that it was last year would be better, right? So I think Chelsea I don't expect them to be fighting to be at the top of the table like some people were at the beginning of the season. I think they'll be hovering on 5-6, which would be a great improvement than last season. And I like what they're doing. They're kind of going to a rebuild right now. And then you mentioned Reece James. He's still so young, but can never seem to just stay on the pitch, right? And you wonder, is this going to be the case for his career, right?
Yeah.
Is he going to be a guy who just can never stay healthy consistently? And as he gets older, your body breaks down quicker and quicker, and if he can never just stay on the pitch.
Yeah.
He's such a good player. There's a reason why he was, he is the skipper of Chelsea because he deserves to, be there when he's on the pitch.
Yeah.
The problem is he's just never on the pitch, right? So
the best ability is availability.
Oh,
there you go.
All right.
One more game to cover. There'll be more than 3 games, though, this weekend. Manchester United plus 140 against Albert Vartanian Spurs.
This one's interesting.
At plus 183, it draws plus 266.
Yeah, I mean, both teams at plus value is interesting because Man United beat Wolves last weekend, but got absolutely picked apart.
What was the final score of that game?
1-0 plus 650 odds.
All right, so here's the craziest thing. We all know that Onana should have got a penalty. I mean, he should have been sent off. Man U had no business winning those games. This is one of those games where everyone in the world knows that was not a win for them. They shouldn't have won. They didn't deserve it. The way that Wolves were able to open up Man U's defense was incredible. And we're talking about Wolves, one of maybe the worst teams in the Prem right now. And if Wolves can do that, why can't Spurs? I know Spurs struggled. I know Spurs don't have Harry Kane, but listen, I mean, they're better than Wolves. They have players that have the ability to actually score these goals and finish. So Albert Vartanian actually is going for a Spurs win, and he said he took his Spurs cap off, and this is just based on what he's seen. But I don't know. This one, I think if it was before last weekend, after seeing that match, I would have said United, but I'm on the fence about this one.
I agree with you. Look, United, look, I got the correct score right, and they won. They won 1-0.
Doesn't matter.
But there's a reason
happened,
why I picked them to win 1-0. It's because they're going to take Wolves for granted, right, and not come out and play well. And they didn't. They played horrible, right? Mason Mount looked awful.
Absolutely dreadful.
Horrible.
Yeah.
Wearing the number 7 in Manchester United at Old Trafford looked horrible. Awful to the point where his brother had to go on Instagram and defend him to say to the British pundits, leave me alone. I believe that Erik ten Hag is a very, very good manager.
Yeah.
But if they don't come out and perform well against a Tottenham team that they should beat, they should be favored against them. Erik ten Hag, what is going on? Why can you not get your team and your squad ready to go in a big, big season for you? That's what I want to see. Do I think United can get got here? Absolutely. If they play with the way they played against the Wolves, they're going to lose not 1-0. They're going to lose by more than a couple goals, right? But United need to put together a strong performance. They need to come out of the gate playing well, and if they don't, they're going to lose.
I'd hammer Spurs. That's better value. Go for it.
And I like Albert Vartanian, so I'm going to go with the Spurs as well. Coming up next, by the way, thank you very much, Sarah, for stopping by. We'll get your parlay pick as well. She's on fire. But we got George St. Pierre coming up. Justin and I talked with him earlier today, so that interview is after this. All right, welcome back to Bet99's The Parlay Show. Rob Conway in studio, of course, with Justin Putin. But joining us now,
special guest.
We have a huge guest. It is UFC 292 coming up, and he is a champion in 2 weight classes in the UFC and a UFC Hall of Famer and a Canadian sports icon. It's George St. Pierre. George, how you doing, my man?
Doing fantastic. Yourself, guys?
Very, very well. I'm excited. We got a big card coming up. A couple of title fights. one in the bantamweight division, George, that, this division's been a little bit of a question mark over the last little while. But look, Aljamain Sterling's been the champion. He has a couple of defenses. But with regards to the actual fight, we have a pretty standard style here. We got a guy who's a jiu-jitsu specialist in Sterling, going to try and probably take this fight to the mat. You got O'Malley, he's a striker. When you have two guys that have kind of opposing styles, how do you think this is going to play out in the early rounds?
Well, I was very impressed by Sterling's performance against Cejudo. He was able to put Cejudo down, a world-class wrestler. So to me, it means that at some point the fight will hit the ground if Aljamain Sterling wants it. Okay. And a big question mark is how O'Malley will react to this. It's O'Malley is very charismatic. He's very good, but he never fought someone the caliber of Sterling. It's going to be a hell of a fight.
George, you mentioned it, that O'Malley's a fan favorite. Sterling's been kind of doubted as a champion. Of course, he got the title through a controversial disqualification, had 2 split decisions, had a solid fight against Sandhagen. Do you think if Sterling puts on a solid performance against a fan favorite like Sugar Sean O'Malley, he will finally get his justification as a true champion among fans and UFC media?
Well, to me, he's a true champion. He proved it many times. The fans react. Fans like drama, I guess. They react. They're more emotional than sometimes rational. I'm talking about the big percentage of it. They like to be entertained. That's why they're watching it in the first place. So it's if I'm very objective, for this fight, I believe Sterling would be the favorite, in terms of tools, in terms of weapon. But we have an emotional aspect that sometimes can change the data. And that's what is happening here with O'Malley. O'Malley creates a lot of drama. He's very emotional. He has so much charisma. People it's either you love him or hate him, but you can't ignore him.
Yeah, and if he has his way, obviously this is going to be a stand-up fight, George. And if you're a guy who is, I'm not going to say afraid to go to the mat, but let's be honest, if he goes to the mat, Sterling is going to be in control here. So how is it going to be for him to try and keep it on the feet, but still focus enough on trying to execute his strikes? Because obviously he's got a head kick, he can punch, he can knock out Aljamain Sterling. There's no doubt about it. But if you're so worried about being taken down, how do you manage both of those things at the same time?
Exactly. If he goes out there and he's afraid of Sterling ground game, and he respects it too much, he's going to be gun shy. And that's what you don't want to be in a fight. You don't want to be gun shy. You want to go there and put it all on the line, risk it all, go big, and it's also Sterling, how Sterling will react to the O'Malley. There's a lot of emotion in that fight. O'Malley is different in a way. He's a little bit like a Conor McGregor type of fighter in a way that he plays with your emotion, because the fans are going to tune in more. This is going to be a big fight. And some guys, they react very well to this. It make them rise, but some others, it crumble them. So it's going to be interesting.
George, you mentioned a lot about emotion. Now, you've had 9 title defenses yourself. You've been a challenger as well. Take me into the mindset of a champion defending his title and the challenger trying to acquire the title. Is there the same mindset, or is there a totally different mindset on each side of the spectrum?
No, it's totally different. I personally was at my best when there was a lot on the line, when I had more to lose, because I felt like I was more prepared. That the fear helped me. The fear made my reaction time better, made me more explosive. The fear, I learned how to control my fear. Some guys, it doesn't work like that. Some guys, the fear, it paralyzes them. The fear of the risk, the bigger the fight is, the more emotion there is, they freeze. Sometimes it could be a good thing or a bad thing. And when you're a champion, they say, and it's true, by the way, it's hard to become champion, but it's even harder to stay champion, because when you're the champion, you're the target. You have guys that have been watching you for years, and they train and they get prepared only to fight you. You, on the other side, when you're champion, you only heard of them a few months before you're about to fight them. So your preparation is not as specific as they are, in a way. Because when you train for a specific opponent, you everything is specific to that particular problem, that particular person. When you're a champion, you have different contenders, so you have multiple guys that you need to face and put your eyes on and get ready to fight. When you're the champion, when you're the contender, you have one guy, he's on top, and that's the one that you want to take. You want his spot, you want to take his place.
Yeah, it's interesting how that dynamic works out. So, in your opinion here, Sterling is the big favorite at Bet99. How do you think? What's your prediction here for the main event?
I think Sterling is the big favorite. If I try to be objective, I think he has more tools on paper to win the fight. However, we know that it's not always the best fighter that wins the fight. It's the fighter that fight the best the night of the fight. So some people might believe that O'Malley will get into Sterling's head. He has a particular style that will make Sterling freeze or will be the perfect nemesis to Sterling, and that's a good risk to take according to the odds.
Yeah, it's going to be good. We got a good one in the co-main as well with Zhang Weili as she's back on top as the champ against Amanda Lemos. But she had a good quote. I know you've heard it before, the Bruce Lee quote. She wants to be like water in this one. What do you think she means by that going into this fight? There's other opportunities for her. She's going against the fifth ranked fighter in this division, but she's going to be like water. George, what's that mean for this fight?
Well, what that means is it could mean many things, but in that particular case, I believe that sometimes when you prepare too much for a certain type of scenario, and that scenario does not occur, you got surprised, and you take you outside of your comfort zone. What she meant by that, I believe she's ready to face any kinds of problem into the fight. She's gonna be like water. She's prepared for everything. She don't only focus on one particular situation. She's ready to anything, and that's I think the right mindset to go for a fight.
George, was there any particular fight going into your career where you had to be way more amiable and gather a lot more DNA? A fighter that really pushed you to stretch all levels of your arsenal?
Yeah. Well, there's fight that was the opposite. For example, and there was fight that had to be very well rounded. Like for example, one of the mistake I did, I believe, is when I fought Jake Shield. I put myself too much into that mindset of not going to the ground and just keep the fight standing up. And looking back at it, I think I could have gone to the ground with him and I would have caused more damage and maybe turned the fight even more to my advantage. That was the wrong thing to do. And we talk about Weili. I think that's not what she wants to do. She wants to be like water, so she doesn't want to do that mistake. A fighter that I fought that forced me to use all my range of weapon was, I think, BJ Penn. Prime BJ Penn was probably the best fighter I ever fought in terms of skill. He was just like the perfect fighter. He had literally almost no weaknesses except of his, I would say, maybe his mind. His mind was his weaknesses. His weakness.
Yeah, interesting. When you get into a fight, George, that you have to have that ability to just, you're reacting, right? I mean, you have a game plan going in, but with Weili, where she is, she's got some big fights ahead of her possibly, but you can't look past somebody, George. You know that, like with Lemos, she's going to be inside the octagon on Saturday night. You don't want to be thinking about a possible fight with Yan or whatever in China. But when you are the champ and there are so many different negotiations kind of going on, and this fight might happen or that might, and the fans want this one, and we want to build up, the following in China. So can that be a distraction? And how do you go about, when you're the champ, making sure you focus in on just the opponent that you have?
Well, I made the mistake myself as well. I learned the hard way, and yeah, those are the fight that seems the fight where I would say the odds favor you the most. Mm-hmm. That you feel that you're supposed to win it, like with not much problem, are the most dangerous fights, because you always have to remember you always had one mistake to lose everything in this game. At that level of competition, you make a mistake, you give your arm, you get arm bar, you zig when you should zag, you get knocked out. So it's unforgivable. Mistakes are unforgivable. So you need to make sure you prepare yourself every fight, not thinking past that opponent, and fight that fight like it's your life depend on it, because it really does.
One other fight on the card that we were talking about with your picks, it's Chito Vera, who's fought O'Malley, by the way, and did beat him, although that was, he kind of injured himself, O'Malley, in that fight. But he was extremely hyped going into it, and here he is back here. You like Vera in this one. Why do you like Chito?
Well, I think he's a powerhouse for his weight class. He's huge. I met him in person. Couldn't believe it. He's a powerhouse. I don't know how he cut all that weight, and I think he's gonna, if I look at his skills and his size different, I think that's his time. I would favor him personally.
George, we mentioned off the top that you're returning to competition, the Fight Pass Invitational 6. We know athletes are, creatures of habit. How is this training different from training in the past, and how's it going?
It's really different. People say you go back to fight. It's actually not really a fight. I personally do not consider grappling a fight, or boxing either. Boxing is not really a fight to me. A real fight is mixed martial art. You know what I mean? Grappling, it is a fight in a way, but you're not allowed to strike. If I take boxing, for example, it is a fight, but you're not allowed to punch, to elbow, to kick, to grapple, to throw someone down. So, it's different rules, a different sport, a different form of combat, very specialized. I'm very excited about it. I want to make people, create more awareness around that sport. Because in first place, if mixed martial art took a lot of time to be legalized all around the world, is because of the grappling aspect. The people did not understood what was going on the ground. They couldn't understood why someone on top of his opponent is a punch, and when you try to explain to them, hey, it's not because you're on the bottom that you're losing the fight, it didn't make sense to them. So I think it's going to be a great opportunity to educate people on it, and I think it will tune in a lot of people, because a lot of people want to practice martial art, but they don't want to get punched. So I think it's going to bring a different audience, and it's going to be good also for MMA.
Yeah, we're really excited for it, and glad that the preparation is going well. And we'll talk to you many times before. But good luck continuing with the training, George. And thanks very much for coming on the show. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Glad to be here. Talk to you soon.
All right, welcome back to Bet 99's The Parleh Show. Thank you very much to Georges St. Pierre. That was a great interview. He's the best. He's got such great insight, obviously. And UFC 292 is a great card. Should be a lot of fun. So really looking forward to that. And looking forward to the Parleh, as we did not win yesterday. But a certain person on the panel is red hot, but is doing the responsible. Yeah, you as well. But literally, Sarah hasn't missed a pick yet. But she's doing the responsible thing, because there is no soccer today. There's actually not a lot of anything today. Mm-hmm. There is... Baseball is minimal. We do have a CFL game, which we'll talk about. There's always lots to look at, but if you don't like what you see, what should you do?
Not bet.
That's correct.
No bet from me today. I'm not going to force it. I'll be back tomorrow with something juicy for the Premier League or maybe the Women's World Cup on the weekend, but no, I'm not forcing it. Okay. Nothing from me.
All right.
I like it. It's a good decision. Well played. We got our pick from Barney. He's going with your Seattle Mariners on the run line.
Nice.
So that play's locked in. And what do you have?
I'm going to go...
Because you also are red hot.
Canadian Football League, and I'm going to take the winless Edmonton Elks to cover the 5.5-point spread against the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Look, they almost won last week. They were up 15 points. They kind of blew it, and Hamilton's not, world beaters. They're 3-5 this year. They're not doing that good. They've only won one game at home, I think. So, look, I don't think the Elks are going to win, but hey, there'll be a close game, an entertaining game. So, Elks to cover the 5.5-point spread.
Okay, minus 110 there. I'm going with Lance Lynn and the Dodgers tonight. No, eh?
Okay.
It's the Dodgers. They're the hottest team in baseball.
Yeah.
They're only a few games behind the Braves. I think like in the last 30, they're like 23-7 or 22-8 or something like that. So minus 150 there. And Sean McCormick will jump in here. The over 5.5 through the first 5 innings in the Mets-Cardinals game. Not a fan of Wainwright and Quintana on the mound for the Mets and the Cardinals. You put that all together, plus $932. $100 gets you $932 of profit.
So what you guys going to spend at the keg tomorrow night?
Hey.
Ooh, yeah. Keg can get expensive. Yeah. It can get expensive, especially start buying bottles of wine. That can get you going for sure. All right. Well, thanks very much to Georges St. Pierre, to Matthew Barnaby, to Sarah Pararia, and to Sean McCormick, as well as Ellie behind the scenes. This has been another episode of Bet 99's The Parleh Show, and you guys will all be back tomorrow. I will not be here. I will be enjoying a little bit of the keg with one Matthew Barnaby. Take care, everybody.